The Supreme Court is likely to share its decision on whether to delay a ban on the social media platform TikTok today. The court heard oral arguments last week in TikTok's fight to save the platform from a new federal law requiring it to divest from its Chinese-based parent company by Sunday. Otherwise, it'll face a nationwide ban. The administration is also stepping in, saying it does not plan to fine companies that allow access to the app in the U.S. during Biden's final 36 hours in office. Instead, the administration says it'll defer implementation of the law to the incoming Trump administration. The Washington Post reports President-elect Trump has been exploring possible ways to keep TikTok running, including a potential executive order that would unravel the law passed by Congress and signed by President Biden. Trump once advocated for the ban, but has recently expressed interest in being seen as rescuing the platform on which he's been told he's admired. In an appearance on Fox News yesterday, Trump's incoming national security advisor, Congressman Mike Waltz, said Trump would put measures in place to keep the platform from going dark.
Well, President Trump, and this is in line with the legislation, we will put measures in place to keep TikTok from going dark. In the legislation allows for an extension as long as a viable deal is on the table. And then, essentially that buys President Trump time to keep TikTok going. It's been a great platform for him and his campaign to get his America First message out. But at the same time, he wants to protect their data.
Joining us now, Scripps News national correspondent Liz Landers. Liz, to me, this sort of feels like, well, if it isn't the consequences of our actions.
Yeah.
You've got all these members of Congress, even the president who signed the ban, now saying maybe not yet. Talk us through what's happening.
Yes, and Mike Waltz, who is now the incoming national security advisor himself, used to be a member of Congress, may still be a member of Congress.
I think technically might,
Yes, he has also opposed this in the past. He has been opposed to TikTok for national security reasons. It is a true 180 that we're seeing from the incoming administration. And now that Biden and his team have said in the last 12 hours that they're not going to enforce this either, it's a bit of a 180 for them, too. His own Department of Justice, the Solicitor General, was arguing a week ago at the Supreme Court that TikTok should be banned for national security concerns. And it sounded like the justices are going to rule in that favor, that they will uphold this ban. So right now, this is going to take effect on January 19th, on Sunday, the day before President-elect Trump comes into office. And you're seeing all these backdoor dealings scrambling right now. Another factor, too, is that there has been a last-minute, last-ditch effort to try to get together a group of people who are wealthy enough to purchase the platform, which, by the way, they could have been doing that the last 7 or 8 months. So a lot of moving pieces here, but we are expecting the Supreme Court to issue their decision 10 a.m. today. We'll see.
And then that also launches into the entire new landscape of Biden saying, we'll leave this for the next administration. Right. Quite a gift.
Yes, and Pam Bondi, who could be the incoming attorney general, would then be the one to enforce this ban with the new Department of Justice. And during these confirmation hearings earlier this week, she was asked about whether she would enforce the ban. She kind of dodged that question. So now we have the incoming administration leaving, or the outgoing administration leaving this to the incoming one. We're not exactly clear what the incoming admin can do. And Mike Waltz was asked about some of the executive orders. It's not exactly clear what President Trump could do if he comes into office. Also, I would just add as well, and you probably remember this from 2020, Trump passed an executive, or he signed an executive order that would effectively have banned TikTok at the time.
Yeah.
So he's taken action on this in the past. That was not that did not go through. That was not legal. I believe that was challenged in courts at the time, too. So I don't know what executive authority Trump could have in order to preserve TikTok. They say they're exploring this issue, though, right now.
They have to be. They're right up against the clock and right up against the deadline. And I think none of them want to be in the position of saying we banned an app with 170 million American users, many of whom are young voters. Neither party wants to upset that group of people. So there's certainly that piece of it.
Yeah.
I want to take a turn because you mentioned Congress and the confirmation battles that have been happening on Capitol Hill. We started the week with Hegseth. We're ending the week with Kristi Noem.
Yeah.
Which of these stood out to you? And is Is your sense right now on the Hill, as you've been covering this, that all of them, at least the ones who went up this week for their confirmation hearings, are likely to pass?
I do think that it sounds like most of these people will get through the process. And I say that because it seems like Republicans are very unified around these nominees right now. I think coming out of the Hegseth hearings, which were very long, tense at times, I was surprised that Joni Ernst, the senator from Iowa, put out a statement, I believe it was just later that day, saying that she would support that nomination. She was the real person that I think we were all looking to see if she would support Hegseth. But I also think, too, that some of these nominees will get confirmed on January 20th. I was in the Ratcliffe hearing. John Ratcliffe is the nominee to be the CIA director, and that felt positively cordial for him compared to the Hegseth and some of the other hearings that we've seen. He has already been confirmed before as the director of national intelligence. But in that hearing, I was also very struck by the number of questions from Democrats, and this seems to be their theme throughout these hearings, asking about keeping these agencies apolitical and asking him specific questions. Would he fire somebody for political leanings? If there is a political litmus test that is requested by the administration or the White House, will you enforce that? So I think that Democrats really sort of leaning into that in some of these hearings, too.
Yeah, it's a common thread from Ratcliffe to Bondi through Hegseth. That's something that all of them want to see, because we know loyalty as a litmus test has always been top of the list within Trump world. It's going to be interesting to see how these guys play out. Liz Landers, thank you so much for joining us on all of it.